Coach Corey Wayne, and this is my video coaching newsletter. And the topic of this newsletter is going to be dealing with haters. Well, I think everybody watching this video has at either one point in their life or they're presently dealing with haters. In other words, people that are in essence projecting their own self-hatred, self-loathing, their own weaknesses onto you, which is really just masking the fact that they're envious or they want to be you or they fear that you're better than them. Because the world seems to never have a shortage of weak people, and weak people who are people in essence who are too weak to follow their own dreams, guess what? They're always going to find a reason to discourage yours. And when you have goals, you have dreams, especially when you start applying the kinds of things that you're learning from me, obviously your friends and your family are going to notice this. They're going to notice a change. They're going to notice a change in the way you carry yourself. They're going to notice a change in the tone of your voice. They're going to notice a change in just your body language, your physiology. And people around you, especially when you really start striving for your goals and your dreams, you start pursuing the things that you want, the things that you're passionate about, and you start moving in that direction, and you start kind of moving away from your friends, your family, your peer group that you normally spend a lot of time with. Some of those people are going to fear that they're going to lose you, because the average person, let's face it, most people in this world just are not living up to their potential, and they're not reaching for it, they're not striving for it, because they have a whole host of excuses and reasons why things are not in the cards for them. And when they see somebody that's in their peer group doing something to better themselves and improve their life or their situation, that person in essence becomes like a giant mirror, a giant reflection back to them. In other words, they look at it and they go, well, if you're so successful, it's a reflection to them of how they're not successful. And so that if they can discourage you, if they can get you to give up on striving for the things that you want, all order remains in their universe, in their world, and therefore they don't have to do anything. But if you go and you stretch and you move away from them and you eventually succeed, then obviously they're going to personally feel bad about themselves. And since they don't like to feel bad about themselves, that's where the old saying comes from: misery loves company. In other words, like attracts like, even miserable people. So if you have a lot of miserable people in your life, or people that just are not doing anything to help themselves or participate in their own rescue or reach their full potential, they're not going to like you doing that, because it makes them feel uncomfortable. It reflects back to them of how they're not living up to their own potential in life. And that's why it's so important that you have a vision and you have a mission for your life, something that you want to create, a purpose that you, if you're a man, a purpose that you want to fulfill, even if you're a woman. You got to have something that you're going to do for a living, whether you're raising babies or you have a career and you're raising babies on top of that. There's not a one-size-fits-all in the world when it comes to relationships or family or raising kids. I mean, there's plenty of people that are successful now, plenty of very successful women that are saying, hey, you know what, all these relationships I've had over the years are great, but I'd really like to have kids. And so instead of waiting to meet Mr. Perfect to have children with, they're just going out and adopting kids on their own and starting their own families without the guy in their life. And it's cool that people have the ability to do that these days. I mean, 100 years ago, that would have been unheard of. But these days, where women have the same kind of freedom to pursue a career and pursue dreams and pursue things that make them happy, they're not so much dependent upon a man to provide their income, their food, roof over the head, provide for their children. Women can go out and they potentially have the same kind of earning potential as men do. So I've got an email here from a guy who's been following me for a while, and he's made some changes in his life, but now he's starting to get some pushback from his family. And this is something that I dealt with very early on in my life. In my family, the way we grew up, it was constant ridicule, constantly making fun of each other, putting each other down, cutting each other down. And there was no hugs, there were no I love yous. And so you're basically getting ignored, or you're being put down and made fun of. And so like for me, I remember as I got older, I just got to the point where I just didn't tell my parents what I was doing or what I was up to or what I was going to achieve or what I was going to accomplish, because usually they didn't have anything positive to say. When I started my real estate companies in the 90s, I quit my job working for a very stable company, the largest part of the largest construction company in the world at the time in the 90s. And I remember he didn't have a positive word of encouragement to say about that. He thought it was reckless of me to quit my job and borrow 50 grand of my credit cards, which it was. But the bottom line is it was done. I'd already quit and left the job, and I was already working. I was just sharing my excitement with what I was doing. And obviously, knowing now what I know, like my dad is just looking from the perspective, oh, I don't want my son to suffer here. I don't want him to be disappointed. So let me just go ahead and destroy his dreams right now and tell him, how foolish it is and how it's never going to work out, because I don't want my son to experience disappointment. And I remember saying to my dad, it's like, Dad, I love you, but if you don't have something positive to say, if you're not going to stand behind me, if you don't think it's great, if you're not excited for me, I don't really want to hear it. I mean, sometimes you got to say that. Sometimes you got to say, Mom, Dad, I love you, but please mind your fucking business, in a nice but firm way that lets them know that they're stepping over the boundary here. Especially this goes for who you date, the women that you have in your life, the women you're married to, or women that you happen to be dating. If you're going to be in a relationship, you've got to, or even when you're dating, you've got to make sure that the women that you're dating have something positive to say. They think it's exciting and interesting and fascinating that you do what you do, and they encourage you. You want a woman in your life that's a cheerleader. If you're going to be dating, you want somebody that's got positive things to say, because as a man, if you're doing something you really love and you're excited about it, you're not going to be able to help but talk about it, because you're going to want to, because you're going to be excited about it. You're going to want to share it with everybody. You want to tell everybody how you're excited about what it is that you're creating. And you want a woman to be your biggest cheerleader in your life if you're going to be in a relationship. Because I talk to guys many times that have their own business, or they have a career that they're striving for, and their girlfriend or their wives or a woman that they happen to be dating never has anything positive to say about it. And so when you're building something, especially if you're an entrepreneur, or you're building a career, or you're building a business from scratch and you're trying to figure out your business model, it may take you many years of trial and error. Or if you're pursuing a career that it may take you 10, 15, 20 years to get the experience and the knowledge that you need in order to grow into where you want to get. Maybe you want to be a CEO someday of the company that you work for. But there's a period of time, there's learning and there's experience that has to be gained on your part. And if you're going to have a woman in your life, you got to make sure that she supports you. Because it's hard enough when you have doubts yourself, you come home, you want your woman to put her arms around you and give you a kiss and say, I'm proud of you, I think you're amazing, I know you'll figure it out. You don't want you coming home going, God, I didn't really get anywhere today, or that didn't go the way I wanted it to, or I tried this thing in my business and it didn't work out. And she goes, oh, that's a fucking stupid idea, you should just quit that anyways. And I got guys that they're dealing with this. And they wonder partly why their relationship isn't that good, and she doesn't support what he's doing. And it's hard enough being an entrepreneur. It's hard enough striving for the dreams that you want, than to have somebody that's like literally you're pulling the wagon one way, and it's like the other person that's supposed to be on your team is behind the wagon trying to pull it the opposite way. It's a lot harder to get there. And so it's one of the things that Tony Robbins said. It's so true. Love your family, choose your peers. The quality of your life is going to be in direct proportion to the expectations of your peer group. If the expectations of your peer group sucks, if most of the people that are in your life are really not people that are striving to better themselves, that are trying to improve their relationships, that want to improve their health, that want to improve their career, that want to improve their business, those are the kind of people that are going to hold you back, because they're not going to be able to relate to you. What happens when you have a problem? If you're an entrepreneur and you're struggling with a business problem, and you go and you talk to all your friends that work for other people, they're not going to be able to relate. That's why it's so important that you surround yourself with people who uplift you, who celebrate you, who encourage you, who believe in you, who tell you, of course you can do it. Even when you're going through a difficult time, you want them to have a positive, encouraging, uplifting word to say about it. So I got a quote that I wrote before we get into this. I've got one email from a viewer here that I'm going to go through. And a quote I wrote says, "You are not responsible for what others think of you, only how you think of yourself and the meaning that you give to the events and circumstances of your life. Practice radical humility and let other people sing your praises. Successful people talk about their accomplishments. Truly great people let others speak about their accomplishments instead. Once you have learned to love, embrace, and accept your shortcomings, you will never allow others to use them against you to diminish you in any way again. Haters are gonna hate. Besides, they're only projecting their own self-hatred and self-loathing onto those who they envy, want to be like, or who they feel are better or more successful than them. And it's so important. I say this all the time. And this is like one of the greatest pieces of wisdom that I've gained in my life. And whenever you deal with haters, especially doing what I do in a very public way, you get people that they're miserable. They hate themselves and they hate their lives, and they see something like mine and it's completely contrary to what they believe and what they think. They're fearful, they're afraid, they know they need to take some action, but it makes them feel uncomfortable. And so what do? They try to belittle me. They try to say things and tell me how bad I suck and I'm no good and this and that. And so you get these emails, you get people posting things publicly, you got to block them. You have to deal with it. You're going to see it. There's nothing you can do about it. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, no one will ever do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. So you got to remember that. When somebody's hating or they're miserable or somebody cuts you off in traffic, they pull out in front of you and they're, a couple weeks ago, I remember I was driving to get on the interstate, and I just come from Whole Foods, and it was like Sunday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's traffic, but it's not jammed. It's a beautiful day out, which the reason I remember is because there hasn't been a lot of really nice days in Florida this past few years. It's mostly raining a lot. But it's like when it's a beautiful day out, I'm just enjoying myself. I got a car full of healthy groceries, and I'm driving back home, and this dude just like in his Mustang cuts right in front of me, and he's just giving me the finger. Kind of, like, what's this guy all about? I have no idea what's going on. I've never seen this guy. This guy just pulls in front of me, and it's like in a way it was like a competition, because I was in the lane. These two lanes are merging. And so, to him, it was like a competition. He's thinking, I'm going to cut this fucking bastard off and give him the finger. It's just like the look out of the guy's face was like, I got in front of you. You don't know what's going on in the guy's life, and you just got to laugh at it and chuckle. Because you never know when you're going to look over in traffic and there's some guy and he's flicking you off, and he's doing this. You have no idea why. It's not your problem. You are not responsible for the fact that he's fucked up and in a shitty mood. You have to look at life that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this guy's email, and then we're going to there's a couple little things that he points out that everybody's dealing with. And especially like in an area when it comes, like if you're trying to improve your dating life or your pickup skills, your relationship skills, and you start applying these things, what you're going to realize is, like, especially even if you're recommending my book or my website, most of the people that you're going to recommend it to are going like, yeah, it's a great idea. I need to do that. I need to check that guy's website. I need to get that book. I'm going to do that tomorrow. And a week later you talk to him, nah, man, I need to do that. I need to get around to that. 10 years from now, that dude will be saying the same thing. That's what I'm talking about. It's like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And when it comes to self-help, it really boils down to if that person's not open to it, if they're not ready, willing, able, if they haven't gotten to a place in their life, whether it's their career's not working, or their relationship's not working, or they're not having very much success in their dating life, or they're not very happy, they don't know what their purpose is in life, unless they feel like they've kind of hit rock bottom, or they've just gotten to a place where they're like, that's it, I'm over it. And like if you're watching this video, you got to a place in your life where you just said, you know what I'm doing is not working, and I got a knowledge gap, and I need to fill in that knowledge gap. I need to figure out what I'm missing, and then start applying what I learned so I can get the kind of results in my life. You got to a place in your life where you said, that's it. I've had enough of this bullshit. This is not acceptable. I need to move forward. And that's great. If you suggest something like mine or somebody else's book that's self-help related, and they're like, or they keep saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get around to that, and they never do, it's like, you can't help those people. They're not open to it. And you just frustrate yourself trying to help people that don't want the help. It's like somebody taught me this many, many years ago. It was another coach. It's like, and when it comes to doing what I do, don't care more about your clients' lives than they care about their own lives. And it's true. It's like your friends and your family, people who you look at, you can tell the way they're going about things is fucked, and you know a way that would be a lot easier for them, if they're not ready, if they're not open to it, you know, you're just going to frustrate yourself. In other words, caring more about their lives than they care, you're going to make yourself miserable. And why do that to yourself? Spend your life with people who are striving for greatness, just like you, who are striving to be better than they are presently. Because those are the kind of people that will encourage you, that will uplift you, that will be supportive. And that's one of the reasons why I block haters, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter, on YouTube, is because I want a community of like-minded people. People that are positive, that are upbeat, that are just like, tell me what I need to know, dude, and I'll apply it. Those are the kind of people, and that's, like I said, those are the kind of people that I want in my community. Those are the kind of people that I want to work with. I want to help because they're positive, they're uplifting, and, you know, what I see, you know, especially now, like my YouTube channel, social media, is you see guys helping each other out, men and women. You got women helping guys out. They've been following me for a while, and it's great. That's what I wanted, because I can't answer every fucking question that comes in, but, you know, you have enough people that know enough of what I teach, and they see somebody else coming behind them that posts a question, they know exactly what to say, and it's great. That's what I wanted to create. You got a bunch of haters that are just saying all kinds of nasty, hateful things. You get somebody that may be insecure, they may be a little unsure, they may be new to this stuff, and then you got somebody sowing a bunch of doubt. They're not helping. You know, they're like the fucking turd in the punch bowl. You can't do anything about it except just block them and get them out of there, and problem solved. So let's go ahead and get in this guy's email. He says, "Hey coach, I truly want to thank you for what you do. You're a true philanthropist. Your work has really helped me out, and I live in Alaska. I did donate what I could because I'm currently working on centering myself, and that's also expensive." Well, I always appreciate donations, and for any of you watching that want to just say, "Hey Corey, you know what, I really appreciate what you do," on my website, any page of my website, in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a PayPal donate button. So if you're so inclined, thank you. He says, "I have turned a few friends onto your book. However, they are not ready to grow yet as a person because they think that what they are doing is going to work." He says, "Chumps." Yeah, it's like the only time somebody will change their belief system is when it no longer works for them. And you may have had friends or family or people that like found Jesus at one point in their life, and they went around telling everybody, you know, for several years, trying to get everybody to go to their church or buy into their religion or whatever they believe. And then, like, as the decades go by, they tend to mellow out. Like, I had an uncle that was like that when I was a kid growing up. He was hardcore, found God, found Jesus. You know, keep in mind, we're all Catholic. But it's like, oh, no, you got to believe the Southern Baptist way about religion that I believe, because if you don't believe what I believe, then you're not going to get to the place that we all want to get to after this journey is over. And this shit went on for like 15 years, and then he just kind of mellowed out. And like now, he doesn't even fucking go to church, which I think is hilarious. He's just got like a total jaded view of the church. He's just more chilled out about things. But that's what happens. It's like if somebody really believes in something, it's like they kind of have to hit rock bottom. They have to get to a place where they realize, you know what, I'm kind of beating my head against the wall, and I'm really not getting anywhere. It's like once they get to that place, those are the people that are open to it. There's an old acronym. It's FAT. It stands for FAT. It means not literally fat. It means faithful, available, and teachable. And if you're watching this video, chances are you're somebody who's faithful, who's available, and who's teachable. You're open to learn these things. You're ready. You're at that place in your life. But obviously not all of your friends or family are going to be at that same place. And so the reality is some of those people, unfortunately, you're going to leave behind because they're just simply not going to help you get to where you want to be. He says, "I've read your book 4 times now. I've watched your videos and I read your articles. And the most difficult thing I have noticed so far is that some people don't like the person who I have become." I mean, think about it. It's like you start to become successful at talking with women, starting conversations, you start going out on dates, and you got your buddies who are perpetually getting friend zoned all the time. They're not open to learn what you're learning. They're not going to have anything positive to say. And the reason being is they're going to be jealous and envious of your success. But they're not, you got to participate in your own rescue. And if they're not willing to participate, there's really not a lot you can do for them. And you don't want those people cock blocking you, which is what will happen. He says, I'm not talking about friends or family, but peers. My friends and family accept me for who I am, and most of my peers are really cool about my change. However, there's a minority that doesn't respect the man I have become. They think I've become conceited and don't care about other people's feelings anymore. I've been accused of that as well. And I had a guy that used to work for me years ago. I remember it was like 7, 8 years ago. I remember it was just, let me think. This was like 2007, 2008. We were all hanging out and making dinner together. It was myself, him, and another buddy of mine. And I have a very detached way of looking at things. And we were talking about dating relationships. And I remember he had asked, he had this girl that he liked at the gym. And yet he wasn't asking her out because he felt she wasn't giving him any interest. But he was really digging this girl. I mean, because he was talking about her. I was like, dude, just ask her out then. That's the only way to know for sure. Because he could go on and on and on for like an hour. It's like, just fucking ask her out. It's like you're getting yourself all worked up. And it's like, because I'm very calm and relaxed. And then after a while, he started getting really upset and pissed off. We started talking about business. And he was going through a difficult time because he was in real estate. And I was out of real estate at this time. And I was working on growing a new business. He got in my face. He's like, you've been holding on to this for 3 years. He's like, you're wasting your fucking time. He's like, you're a loser. Keep in mind, this guy's never had a business of his own. He's always been an employee. So he can't relate to the struggles that I'm going through. And at the end of the day, he's envious of the success that I had had previously. And he doesn't have the strength, the testicle fortitude, if you will, like Dick Marcinko calls it, to go for the things that he wants. Because he's just fucking weak. That was the reality. And he had a very emotional reaction. And I don't get emotional. I don't care about what other people think. Remember, no one will ever do or say anything that isn't a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves in a moment. So what's going on? He's getting angry. And why is he getting angry? Well, behind anger, there's always fear. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real. And so the reality is he's just afraid. Obviously, he was going through a very difficult time financially, so he was stressed financially. He was thinking about changing careers because obviously at that particular time, the real estate market was it was in fucking free fall. It was taking a major nosedive, and he couldn't do anything to make a dime because there was no business, so he's looking to change jobs. And so this guy used to work for me at one point, so we're talking, and I'm giving him some suggestions about what to do, and he just fucking flew off the handle and got all bent out of shape, and he was angry and fearful. He's a very emotional guy, and I'm just calm and I'm relaxed. And when you're really calm and relaxed and you're around somebody that tends to be like a neurotic kind of person, and I'm sure everybody watching this has met somebody in their lives that's kind of neurotic like that, always worried, always fearful, talking to everybody about everything before they make a decision to do something. And so as all this stuff's going on, it's like I'm just, people tend to attack in others what they're disconnected from themselves. So if you're a very calm, peaceful, relaxed person, and you get around somebody that's like fucking neurotic and high-strung, they are not going to like you. And the reason they're not going to like you is because you're peaceful, and you're relaxed, and you're comfortable, and you're calm. And that's something that is just so foreign to him. And like this particular guy, whenever he got around his family, they're like the most neurotic people you've ever been. They're always worried about everything and anything. And constantly talking about what they're worried about and what they're stressed about. Not only with themselves, but every single person in your life. I remember this guy when he worked for me. There's like 40 employees in our office. So every time he put a deal together or made an offer, he'd go around, he'd come to my office. He'd go to the vice president's office. He'd go to both my business partners. He'd go to like 4 or 5 of the other agents there and tell them exactly what happened in the scenario, a house maybe he put an offer in or somebody he was trying to sell a mortgage to or whatever. And he would get their feedback. He would tell them all the same story and listen to them because he was very insecure, very unsure of himself. And so he went around to bounce those ideas off everybody. He wasn't a very good salesperson. It was partly because he was so high-strung all the time. Because he was so high-strung, he was fearful. And the clients could sense that. And because he was afraid that he was as good a salesperson as the rest of us, which obviously he wasn't, and then when his sale would blow up in his face, he'd go around and start talking to everybody in the office about it because he's trying to deflect the blame, almost as if, hey, it's not my fault. I didn't cause that to happen. It's like dog shits in the carpet. It's like, hey, it ain't my dog. It wasn't me. That ain't mine. That's kind of the way they are. And you have to deal with people like that. And sometimes you have to invite people like that to go make somebody else's life miserable. And I haven't talked to that guy in many years. I stopped hanging out with him after that night because it's just like, I don't want to deal with that. It's like the place that I am. It's like one of my spiritual teachers said this once, and I try to. It's not easy to live by these words, but he says, "In my world, nothing ever goes wrong," and that's the way I look at things. And everything that happens in life happens for a reason, and so therefore, if everything's happening on purpose, I even believe that we choose our own parents. So it's like I can't be pissed off that my parents were the way they were. It's like I chose them, and if I chose them, therefore, everything that happens in my life, whether consciously or subconsciously, I'm the one that's attracting that into my life. It's there for a reason. So for me to blame somebody else for that being there, I have to take responsibility and say, hey, I attracted this into my life. Obviously, this person's there for a reason. He continues on. The old part of me would be to be a doormat, be a pleaser, and avoid conflict. However, I'm comfortable with who I've become, and I'm ready to move on with my life. Is there a life lesson to be learned here? Is this the type of behavior I should be ready for down the road of life? Absolutely. The more successful you become at creating a life and lifestyle that you want, the happier you're going to become. And unfortunately, the majority of the people in this world are fucking miserable assholes. That's the reality. I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's the way it is. And the happier you become, and the more successful you become, and that means the more successful you become in your career, the more successful you become at taking care of your body and being healthy, the more successful you become at meeting women and starting conversation, going on dates, having relationships, the more successful you become as an entrepreneur, the more successful you become as a leader, you're going to become a target. People are going to have negative things to say about you. And one of the things that I learned when I was in middle school, it's always better to make friends and be kind to people and laugh shit off and never let shit get under your skin as if it bothers you. Always have a smile, always crack a joke. And it's like what I said in the quote about accepting your own shortcomings. Because when you accept your own flaws and your own shortcomings and you become okay with it, you don't let it bother you. You will never again let other people use your shortcomings against you. Because when you've accepted it, when you've accepted your flaws and your faults, that hey, it is the way that it is. Hey, I got freckles. There's nothing I can do about it. It's a blessing. It's something that's unique. And all the women that I've dated over the years that I've been in relationships with, all of them, bar none, have always loved my freckles. And when I was very young, I was very self-conscious that I thought it was something that made me ugly. And that was a false limiting belief that I adopted because of my peer group. But once I became older and overcame these things and I started having experiences, and I had lots of women telling me how great my freckles were and how unique it was. It's just a perspective change, really. Anything that happens in your life, just like the quote, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. It's a perspective change. That's really what enlightenment really is all about. Because everything that happens to you, you have a choice over what it means to you, good and bad. And so you might as well choose it for it to mean something very empowering. So if you'd like to get my help personally, the quickest way is to book a paid phone session, Skype session, or you can choose email coaching as well. You can choose any of those options by going to my website, click the products tab at the top of your screen, and just follow the instructions. And I will talk to you soon.